Good evening and welcome to Mining the Riches of the Parsha. Tonight is Thursday night, May 16th, 2024. Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, and God says to Moshe, Emor el ha-Kohanim b'nei Aharon, say to the Kohanim, the priests, who are the descendants of Aharon, Moshe's brother, Varmarta lehem, you should say to them, L'nefesh lo yitama ba'amav, you should not allow yourselves to come into contact with a dead body, to become tameh, ritually impure. So to come into contact with a dead body, and that is a mitzvah for a Kohein. It only applies to men, not to women. And it is a mitzvah that applies even today. So, for example, a Kohein should not go to a funeral, should not go to an unveiling, should not visit a cemetery. A Kohein should not go to medical school, which requires dissecting cadavers for medical education. A Kohein should not visit someone who's in a hospital when it is known or at least probable that there is a Jewish corpse in that building. Now, the details of all this are quite complicated, but this is a requirement that applies even today. And there's an exception. The next pasuk says, Ki'im l'shei ro ha'karav elov. The exception is, if God forbid, an immediate family member passes away, then the Kohen is allowed to attend to the burial, go to the cemetery for the burial itself. So the funeral, the cemetery, for the passing, God forbid, of an immediate family relative. Okay, that makes sense. That the Torah would say that there's an exception if, God forbid, a person's immediate family relative passes away. But then there's one more exception. Because the Torah says, Lo yitama ba'amav, says Rashi, this refers to meis mitzvah is permissible. So let's understand what this is. Meis mitzvah means a person who died, and there is a mitzvah to attend to the burial of this person. Of course, it's a mitzvah to attend to the burial of any person, but this is a special case. Meis mitzvah applies in a case where a person dies, God forbid, a person dies. They're out somewhere, outside somewhere, and there's no one else there. So there's no one to take care of the body, to bury the body, to transport the body. No one. Nothing, no one except this person, one person who is a Kohen. So the Torah says, Ba'amav, that this is an exception, that the Kohen is allowed to involve himself in the burial of this person when he is doing it alone and there is no one else to take care of this dead body. Now, I can understand that this is a very important mitzvah. It's part of the general mitzvah of chesed, of doing kindness for other people. But it's kind of strange that this is the only exception to the rule. For example, there's no exception to a Kohen coming into contact with a dead body for any other purpose. Let's say to fulfill a mitzvah. What happens if, I don't know, you're in a place and the only place that you can hear the shofar being blown on Rosh Hashanah is in a hospital and you know that there is a Jewish corpse there. We don't say that the mitzvah of hearing shofar overrides the prohibition of a Kohen coming into contact with a dead body. You have to forego it. Let's say, I don't know, you have to make up a case, some other mitzvah. There's no exception. Even if it's in the category of chesed, let's say a Kohen wants to attend the funeral of a very good person, or of a person who, let's say, was very poor and was not so well respected, and it would be a kindness and respect to this person to attend their funeral. It doesn't matter. No exceptions. Even if it's a kindness. But for some reason, this specific kind of chesed, this specific act of kindness to this dead body, is called Meis Mitzvah, why should it be different than any other mitzvah? Why should it be different than any other aspect of chesed, of kindness? Yes, of course, it is a very great mitzvah. I understand that. But why is it different than every single other situation, scenario that allows for a Kohein to come into contact with the dead body? So I want to suggest to you that Meis Mitzvah is a unique type of chesed, of kindness to another person. And this is what is referred to as chesed shel emes. Now, those words chesed shel emes means a chesed, an act of kindness that's based on authenticity, on truth, on commitment. Now, we use that term widely. Here in Montreal, we have a funeral home that's called Chesed Shel Emes. So we use this term widely. We use it widely to refer to any time you do an action because the person themselves can't pay you back. So it's a kindness that's really for the sake of the mitzvah. But that's not really what Chesed Shel Emes is. Chesed Shel Emes, the true meaning of that phrase, is the case of a Meis Mitzvah. In a situation where there is no one else, and you're the only person there, that means you're the only person that knows about it. So that means that for this act of kindness, there's no recognition. There's no thanks at all, because no one even knows that it happened. That's Chesed Shel Emes. That's a kindness where you are not going to get any recognition, any thanks whatsoever, by definition. And here's the point. The benefit of this kind of chesed is so valuable, it is transformative. It is therefore on the same level of importance as honoring parents, where the Torah itself makes an exception to the rule. A Kohen can come into contact with the dead body. For this specific act of chesed, of Meis Mitzvah, which is Chesed Shel Emes, that's on the same level, calling for the same exception. Because there is a different feeling that comes from this category of mitzvah that is different even than any other act of kindness. And the truth is, it can make you into a different kind of person. Emily Dickinson wrote, "Reverse cannot befall that fine prosperity whose sources are interior." Chesed, an act of kindness, tzedakah, charity, these are certainly very, very important values, commandments, and they make you into a different kind of a person, a generous person, a helpful person. But this action is completely in a different category. Because this means, a person who does this means that they receive their gratification and satisfaction from knowing they did the right thing when no one else knows it. Now, here's the point. If you do not have that, if you need recognition and feedback for someone to say thank you, for someone to say you did a good job, there's nothing wrong with that. It's still a marvelous act. But here's the truth. If your sense of gratification and satisfaction comes from an external source, very often you will be disappointed. You won't get the thanks you think you deserve. You won't be satisfied with what was done for you. It won't be the right words. It won't be the right context. It won't be the right audience. It won't be enough. You will often be dissatisfied. But if you can transform yourself to not need that, to be able to be satisfied that I myself know that I did something good and right and no one else knows about it, you will go through life differently. It's not just a bigger kindness. It's a different kindness. It is a transformative kindness. And that calls for an exception to the general prohibition of a Kohein coming into contact with a dead body. Now, if you're not a Kohein, which most of us are not a Kohein, so this specific mitzvah does not apply to us. And even if you are a Kohein, the circumstances of Mace Mitzvah in the true sense, the circumstances are very rare today. There are hospitals, there's 911, there are funeral homes, there's cemetery staff, there are cell phones. It would be very, very rare for this actual circumstance to come up. But the concept applies to every single one of us, to develop the attitude where we don't look for appreciation or recognition from others, but rather from our own sense of having done the right thing. And then to take particular pride that no one else knows about it. I shared this before. I learned this several years ago. Gino Bartali was an Italian world-class cyclist during World War II. And he helped save he was a non-Jewish man, and he helped save the lives of many Jews. And the way he did so is that he was a courier for forged documents. So with the forged documents, Jews could be able to save their lives, escape and save their lives. And the way that he did it is that he took the forged documents and he rolled them up and he hid them in the frame of his cycle, of his bicycle. But here's the thing. He did this amazing thing, of course, risked his life, saved the lives of numerous Jews, but he never spoke about it. He used to say, good is something you do, not something you talk about. It's a concept that can change your life, as it changes the source of your self-esteem and your satisfaction and your gratification in life from external to internal. And that makes all the difference in the world. In this week's Torah portion, the Parsha of Emor, we have the mitzvah of counting the Omer. And we're in the midst of counting the Omer. Last night we counted the 23rd day of the Omer. And our rabbis tell us that when the Jews left Egypt, they were anxious to receive the Torah at Sinai. They wanted it to be right away. But God said, no, you need a certain amount of distance, a certain amount of time, a certain amount of preparation. And you're not ready for it yet. You have to wait. You have to work on it, step by step. But they wanted it. They wanted God's revelation. They wanted to be uplifted and ennobled by God's commandments that they would receive at Mount Sinai. They wanted to be commanded in them and to have a sense that with each mitzvah action we do, we are pleasing God in some sense. So we counted the days. As we count the days towards any great moment in our life. But the question is, the way that we count, we started the first night, the second night of Pesach, first day of the Omer, and then second day of the Omer, and then third. Last night we counted 23. We're going to go up to 49, and then we'll be Shavuos. Why not count down? Like a rocket launch. 10, 9, 8, 5, 4, 3, 2. Why don't we do it that way? Why don't we start 49, 48, 47. Oh, there are only 46 days left. Oh, there are only 26 days left to Sinai. Why do we count in the order that we count? So, Sefer HaChinuch, written by Rabbi Aharon of Barcelona, explains that the road to Shavuos was long for a people that was very anxious for it to come, the revelation at Sinai on Shavuos. 49 days is a long time to wait. And if we would have started today's 49 days until we get to Shavuos, ay vey izmir, 49 days, how are we ever going to make it? It would seem too long. It would seem too difficult. It would be demoralizing. And therefore, Rabbi Aharon of Barcelona explains, we start day number 1, day number 2. Oh, good, I finished 2 days. Oh, fantastic, I finished 23 days. Okay, got to keep going, get into 49. That's the opinion of Rabbi Aharon of Barcelona. The Rav, Rabbi Yosef Soloveitchik, gives another explanation. And it's very important and fascinating and a very, very significant aspect of our general comprehensive service to God. Rav Soloveitchik says that the Jewish people did not know how many days it would be. God did not tell the Jewish people when they left Egypt how many days it would be. They could not have started at 49 and counted down because they did not know that it was going to be 49. And the Rav says that we find this several times in the Torah. When God spoke to Avram, the first time, God did not tell Avram where he was going to go, where he wanted him to go. Go to the place that I will show you. When God spoke to Avram and told him to offer his son Isaac as an offering on the Akedah, God did not tell Avram where to go. He just said, go and I'll show you the way. God does not tell us in the Torah where the Beit HaMikdash will be built. In the Torah, many, many times, the Torah says, B'makom asher yivchar, B'makom asher yivchar, the place that I will show you, the place that I will choose. Yerushalayim, that word itself is not mentioned. You don't need to know right now where it is. I'll tell you when you need to know. We don't know when Mashiach will come. So we wait until Hashem decides it's the right time for Mashiach to come. And therefore the Rav says they had to start with day number 1 because they did not know how many days they would count, how many days it would take. And therefore we reenact every year with the counting of the Omer, the same counting upwards of our ancestors when they left Egypt. And therefore, we experience again the same uncertainty that they experienced, where they really did not know how long it was going to take. But we remind ourselves that that aspect of uncertainty is a very important part of our religious experience. The fact that we are yearning, the fact that we are reaching for something, the fact that we have faith amidst the uncertainty. And we've spoken about this together in so many different contexts, specifically in relation to Israel over the last week and so many other contexts. This aspect of having faith, having trust when things are uncertain. And we count this way to reenact that feeling that the Jewish people had. We don't know how long it's going to take, but we're still anxious for it. We're still yearning for it. We still want it, and therefore counting towards it. I want to share one last fascinating suggestion from Dr. Benjamin Kohein. Dr. Kohein is the head of radiation oncology at Tel Aviv Medical Center. So he wrote an article a few years ago about a group of patients at his hospital who were undergoing radiation treatment for cancer. And there was a group of patients, so if you're coming every day and you're getting treatment and you get to know each other and you're talking to each other and commiserating and hopefully being optimistic together. So this is a whole range of people, religious, non-religious, Jewish, non-Jewish, who, the mosaic of who you would find in an Israeli hospital. But there was a group of patients and a couple of them noticed, there's a parallel between counting the days of the Omer and counting the days of radiation treatment. And he says, it just so happens that the average course of radiation is about 7 weeks, which is the same duration as the counting of the Omer. I don't know if it's true for all kinds of cancer, but this is what he writes, and he's the head of radiation oncology. So there was a group of patients. This didn't come from him. He's observing this. That there was a patient who pointed out that, there are 2 ways to count. If we're counting to 49 for the Omer or for our radiation treatments, you could count going upward, 1, 2, 3, towards 49. Or you could count downward, 49, 48, 47. And there's a different psychology behind each of them. And she interested a group of these patients, again, religious, non-religious, Jewish, non-Jewish. They decided this year they're going to count the Omer together because it paralleled their radiation treatments. But some of the people decided to count upward, 1, 2, 3, the way we count the Omer. Some of them decided to count downward, 49, 48, 47. So what the patients what the doctor recognized as he saw this going on is that there was something different in the psychology of these 2 groups. Because if you count upwards, if you count upwards, yes, 1, 2, 3, what you're counting is, this is where I am now. I have finished 49, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I have finished 23 days. This is where I am. This is what I've accomplished. And I have to take pride in living in the moment. This is where I am now. I've reached 23. I've survived 23. I've made it to 23. The other way of counting seems to indicate an orientation to the future. I'm not so concerned with where I am now. I'm looking at the goal. I have 26 days to go. I have 25 days to go. I have 24 days to go. That is an emphasis on the future, on the goal. So the difference is, psychologically, there were some people whose emphasis was on thinking about how far they had come, and some people who were thinking about how far they had to go. So it is fascinating from the point of view of these patients. But clearly our practice, which is to count up 1, 2, 3, is to focus on the present. We've made it to 23. Hopefully, we have lifted ourselves 23 steps higher on the way to Shavuos, on the way to receiving the Torah. And each day, hopefully, we look at what we have accomplished, what we have gained, how we have risen over this period of days. My friends, I want to wish you a beautiful evening and a great Shabbos. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person.